Once you've developed your learner profile, you're ready to develop your learner backpack. The learner profile let you know a little bit more about how your students learn and what their interests are and what their strengths and challenges are in the classroom. And now it's time to develop a backpack of tools and strategies and skills that they will need to support their learning. Our goal in developing our learner backpack is to fill our backpack with resources, tools, and strategies that will help remove all barriers that students have when it comes to learning and learning independently in your classroom. As you begin the process, think back to the work that we did with the universal design of learning. The tools that you identified as tools to help overcome barriers in learning are the tools that you will use to build your learner's backpack. So you first want to think about how students engage with the content. So you're going to look at the tools that are available to remove any barriers with students engaging in content. So the group that had this included recruiting interest. So if students are not interested in what you're doing, what are some tools that you can put in place, or some strategies or some resources that you can have in order to help students become more engaged? So start with one of your learner profiles, look at the engage column, and decide what their strengths, challenges, and preferences and needs are, and just decide what are the barriers for this student. And then decide what tools will help remove these barriers. You'll add these to your learner profile under the Tools, Apps, and Resources column. The next step is going to be looking at how students access the information. So how do they gain the information that you're providing to them? Again, you're going to look at what struggles, challenges, strengths, or needs they have, and then you're going to find tools that would help remove those barriers for that student. The last step is looking at how students express what they know. Again, you're looking at what are the strengths, challenges, and needs of the student and finding tools that will help remove any barriers. If you need to look back at additional resources, you can click right here on the Additional Resources button on your presentation that's been shared with you, and you can go to the website that we used when we first looked at universal design, and you can look back at tools that might be helpful. Things to look for in the learner profile. You might want to identify a challenge that the learner has and find a tool that will support that challenge to eliminate or reduce its effects. So if you're looking at a challenge of being able to read on grade level text, you might look for a tool that would help them to be able to access on grade level text, such as an audio version of on grade level text or text that has images that could help that student to understand the text. You could also look for a strength that the learner has and find a tool that will enhance that strength. So when I think about this, I think of the student's preferences and needs. And if a student prefers to share information that they've gained in a video form, then what tools could the student use to show you that they know what they know? The third thing that you should look for in your learner profile are the barriers for independent learning. So it might not be how students are able to learn with you as a facilitator, but it might be that there are some barriers that they have when they're trying to learn something independently. So this would be if they're researching something, or maybe doing a PBL on their own where they have a little less teacher guidance, and find a tool that would help the student to become a more independent learner. As you find these tools, again, add those to the Tools, Apps, and Resources section of each learner profile. So this is our next big part of our learner profiles. But following this, we've got a couple of next steps. The week of February 19th, we'll be meeting again to talk about how to design a lesson for your whole class using the universal design process. So you've looked at each individual learner profile now, and you will have had all of the resources that each individual child needs in your classroom. But that's a lot when it comes to planning a whole group or a whole group project for your class. So how are we going to eliminate barriers for you to make it possible to provide everything for every kid in your class to make them successful? And then the week of February 26th, you will share a lesson that you've taken through that UDL process for your class in our PLCs. So after the week of the 19th, you'll pick a lesson that's coming up in your classroom, and you'll actually do the process, and then on the 26th, you'll share a lesson that you've done.